Okay, guys, so we're gonna start. We just felt like it would be really important to give the youth, especially of Chicago, a voice through all of this. Our opinions are very prominent, and I feel like it would be really helpful for us to have a discussion with people outside of just our groups, with people that we don't know. So, yeah, let's just get started. There will be a question. There will be a bunch of questions, and for every question, we'll open it up to at least one person to answer that question. So, if you want to speak, just make that clear, like wave or type in the chat. And even if it's not you that is unmuted, you can also share your
Go
answer
get your hair stuff. It's
um,
downstairs.
so that we can use those answers as well. And
Your stuff for your hair is downstairs.
I'm going to start with everybody muted so that we can just unmute the people who are going to answer questions.
Also, hi guys. Zaya didn't really do this, but I'm Kyla and that's Zaya. We're two high schoolers from Whitney Young, and we were very excited to have this teen hall and just have people here talking to us about everything that's going on. So, what we wanted to start with talking about is just sort of the parallels of protesting now between the history. So you just have some images here of, protesting back in the 1960s, like in Detroit, when all those things were happening. And it's literally the same. It's sort of, I know everybody's tired and we're just tired of protesting and tired of saying the exact same thing because, it seems like it's continuing over and over again, but that's the reason why we're here today and we're here using our voices. Right. So Zaya, you can start. We wanted to start with a little venting session with everyone, which we were sort of getting into before the official presentation started. Zaya, you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, so we have 4 questions here, as you can see, and we're going to give each person 30 seconds to share their thoughts. You can answer any of the questions, but you have 30 seconds. So just make it clear what question you're answering, and I'll give you a warning when there's 10 seconds left so that you can kind of start to wrap it up. We just want to hear from as many people as possible, so we're going to choose 10 of you to vent for 30 seconds. So anybody who wants to do that, type in the chat so that I can unmute you, and I'll let you know who I choose. All right, Aaron, you can go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
I want to answer number 4. I was like probably 12 when I first heard about Trayvon Martin. And back then it's like I felt the anger like I feel now. Like I saw this on Twitter. I was like, the people who were watching Trayvon Martin's verdict are now adults and they're making a change right now. So I think the one thing I would say or give advice to people is just to be peaceful about making change. Please don't loot. It kind of sucks that that like looting has like overpowered the protests and everything. And it's just a shame, and I just hope everyone's staying safe, and I hope everybody mental health is okay and everything, and I hope everybody's just doing okay. That's just what I wanted to say. So
thank you so much. Okay, Devin, you can unmute yourself.
All right, what's going on, guys? I also want to answer number 4. So I'm kind of in a rough spot right now because I'm not able to actually go out and do anything to like support my community or anything like that. I'm stuck out in the suburbs, but I just want I've come to the conclusion after a long time of thinking to myself that I want to be someone that makes positive change in the future. And I'm not sure how I'm going to go about doing that given I don't have that platform yet. but I want everyone to know that I will continue and try to fight for everybody and make sure that we all get equal everything. And all my heart goes out to all of you guys, and I love y'all.
Love you too. I'm also in the suburbs, so I get how that feels, but there's a lot you can do besides showing up to the protest. There's a lot you can do from home, so that's good.
Sierra wanted to go next.
I wanted to answer number 3. So my mental health since we've been in quarantine hasn't been the best just because of the fact that everything is so different and it's been so hard adjusting. But it seems like as soon as I was starting to finally get back on the right track and get back okay, this happened. And it's like really taking a toll on me because I have younger brothers. I have lots of male friends and family members that are Black. And it's like heartbreaking to see the same thing that our grandparents and great grandparents were dealing with happening to us. And I feel kind of helpless in the situation because I feel like I can't help as much as I want to. It's like I wish I could just solve everything and everything would be okay. But it's just heartbreaking to see all of the trouble that people are going through, all of the pain, like people getting killed still just for trying to like fight for something that we shouldn't have to even fight for.
Yeah, you're right. Very right.
This is Isley speaking. I wanted to answer question, well, just speak on question 4, the prompt. And I just wanted to say kind of like what Sierra just said, that I feel like it's very heartbreaking and it's just it's a disgrace to our communities, what's been going on and how they've just destroyed, people's businesses, mainly Black businesses who have put their heart, sweat, tears into what they built them by themselves, basically. And I also just wanted to add that my mental health is okay. I mean, I feel like at my job, they've taken me off my work schedule a few days this week just because of everything that's going on and, just for the safety of their workers or whatever. So I just feel like it's something that needs to get better. And I feel like people's messages, they can get out just from doing a peaceful protest. It really doesn't have to include looting or anything like that. So yeah, that's just my opinion.
Thanks, Isley. Does anyone else want to go? There will be other questions to answer throughout, so you'll get other chances to speak. But if anyone wants to speak now is the time. Okay. Let's move on.
In case
Hello,
anybody
can you
knows,
guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, this is Charmin, and I also wanted to answer number 3 about mental health. During this pandemic, I would definitely say True Star has been keeping my mental health in check. Working and speaking with you all have gave me hope because I'm grateful to know that the generation coming up under me is aware and they're putting in the work and going out and actually using their voice and speaking up. So I definitely want to shout out to all the youth that were out at the protests and using their energy. We need you. Don't let that energy go because our elders are scared. Just talking to my parents, talking to some of my aunts and uncles, they don't know what to do either. And so I don't want you guys to be nervous or worried, but what you're doing is necessary. And for those who are actively engaging in the protests in a positive way, don't be afraid. Keep being educated. Keep knowing your rights because your energy, the youth voice, is going to change the future for you all as well as the next generation. So thank you all for keeping my mental health, in a better note, in a lighter note.
I also agree that it's us as the youth's job to continue the fight that's been being fought for so many years. And I think that we have a voice and we need to use it. And that's why we wanted to have this discussion. So anybody else can go. We have a couple more openings if you want to. Or we can move on.
I think Ivan said he was going to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, all right. Thanks. Hey guys. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Ivan, and I was gonna answer number four. So I don't know if you guys have seen the news lately, but they were justifying the fact that the cop was doing what he did by claiming that he had a family and showing like easier side to him. I got very like pissed off at that because so did these people that lost their lives had a family. It doesn't justify it. I have a family too, but if I go out and choose wrongfully to kill somebody because of their color, it's a decision and it's a horrible one. So I think just because, like the fact that he was a white man and he's getting so much, like the news and the media are kind of just dismissing the fact that the people are angry and they're just going to react a certain way. You can't just do this injustice and commit this crime and not expect people to uprise and uplift and get together and formulate a response. However that response may be, they want justice. And this is not just what happened this week. This has been going on, as many of you have said, for years and for centuries. So this is not just something that happened the other day. No, like this has been happening for a while. So I just wanted to give my perspective on that, and just hopefully everybody's doing well, and that yeah, that this is surprising and horrible. Honestly, it was bad when I had seen that video. So yeah.
Facts.
I wanted to add on to what Ivan said, actually. In terms of a way to fix something like this, holding people accountable who are racist or they subscribe to all Black beliefs but don't support us when it's necessary. And in terms of like question two, what comes to my mind are all the people from my high school that say the N-word, listen to rap music 24/7, but went silent, and we had to call them out. Like, has anybody been in that situation where you had to check somebody because they're not supportive, and they're not actually, they really don't care about our community at all. So if somebody wants to talk to that, I feel like a lot of us might be dealing with that. I know a lot of us go to like selective enrollment schools that are predominantly white or something like that. So
Maya looks like she has something to say, and the other Maya.
I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to type in the chat. It's not letting me do it. I don't know why.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been a lot of the girls like I used to do ballet with when I was younger, like, and then like people saying nigga, like I'm talking people like even like y'all know them, like people that y'all know, like that y'all have literally been in class with, like, and then have justified, like I literally have to like try to have conversations with them about why they shouldn't. I have heard this girl say nigga 3 times. After the first time I told her not to say it, I explained to her why she shouldn't say it, and she proceeds to say it. So it is definitely very nerve-wracking. I'm like, do you not understand why you can't say nigga? That's like me calling I don't even know what that even, I can't even put that in the same category as anything else. Like, it's just like, it's so frustrating that the person you think, oh, you dancing next to, oh, we cool, like we doing shows together, we doing this, we doing that, and they really like to say nigga, like they cultural appropriating, like they are clowning. And that's another thing. I actually, this time is like very tough right now or whatever, and like very like scary and like whatever, but like this time is the time where people are going to be revealing themselves to you. Everybody is showing who they really are. Every time this is some real life stuff like going down. Like, I feel like I'm in Selma. On Saturday, I literally felt like, I'm like, wait a minute. All she missing is the dogs and the water hose at this point. Like, it's crazy. It's like, it's honestly, it's so crazy. It's so crazy.
All right. Maya, Austin, you want to
go? Yeah, I was kind of going to speak to what Kyla said and also like the first prompt, but since I'm not allowed to leave the house, a lot of like the activism that I have been able to do is through social media, which can be really frustrating because there's so much that's just performative and like it's just completely artificial and like doesn't mean anything. And it's frustrating to see that because you know that like when it comes down to actually taking action, those people who are just like clearing their conscience for themselves, like by posting one thing, aren't going to do anything, which is, and also especially when there's people who you know have said racist things, have like they've done microaggressions against you, and then you see them post that and it just feels so like incredibly fake and like just horrible. So I don't know, I think I'm trying to distance myself from social media a little bit because it's just been really a lot to like constantly be fed a lot of information and also be frustrated by people who aren't speaking up. So I think even though like it's a majority of what I can do from home, I think that taking action, it's not necessarily there, and like calling people and signing petitions and donating is a more healthy like choice of like my time and my energy at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. We're gonna have Jordan, Amaris, Kelby, and then Sierra, and then we'll move on. So Jordan, you can go.
Hi guys, my name is Jordan, and I actually wanted to talk about the second prompt. So previously, before high school, I used to go to a predominantly white institution, and so a decent chunk of my friends are actually white, and I brought it to their attention that they have a lot of large platforms, and none of them posted about the murder of George Floyd. And I thought, I brought it to their attention, not in a rude way, but they were like, posting about something doesn't necessarily mean that I don't care, and I just recently came in contact with that. Oh my God. And I don't know how to feel about it because they can post about everything else but that, or they'll be loud about the looting that goes on, but they don't talk about what actually happened. And so that's really hit home, and I don't know what to do friendship wise, you know? So
I've had that experience too with some of my family members where they want to focus on the way people are reacting to the issue versus talking about the issue. And that's a point of view that is really hard to penetrate and really hard to explain different things to. And that's really discouraging. So I'm sorry that you've encountered that. And I don't know what to do about it either. All right, Amaris, your turn.
Hi guys, can you hear me? Hi, my name is Amaris, and I wanted to comment on question 2. It's been very interesting encountering people that I deemed as friends, as, you know, I played on the same teams as them, and I'm realizing that they have a lot of different beliefs with me. One of the encounters that I had was a girl that I played volleyball with, and she was basically saying that she felt like until she wasn't educated on politics, and until she was educated enough, that's when she would post something about George Floyd or Black Lives Matter. And I feel like that's a problem within itself, because she really dives herself into the Black community and Black culture. And what does research have to do to show you that it's wrong for a police officer to murder somebody like that? So, and it's been people that I've deemed as friends, you know, out of high school, and I've seen people agree with Trump calling, you know, the rioters and looters thugs, but in regards to the people last week with AK-47s, he was telling them, oh, the governors need to listen to their people. And seeing people justify that, and just, like a lot of you guys said, commenting on the looting, but never commented on George Floyd or Black Lives Matter. It just really feels like a slap in the face, and I'm just still kind of going through processing it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm sorry for pronouncing your name wrong. Kelby?
Hi, I'm Kelby. Just to go off of kind of what Maya said, I do feel like a lot of it is performative, because I've had friends ask if they should post something or if it would appear as racist. And I just feel like in that case, like if you even have to question what you believe in, because obviously he wanted to post it, but he wasn't sure. And I just feel like and I told him, I was like, if that's what you believe in, be proud about it. But like, I'm not going to give you my opinion on a view that's not mine. And I've had other friends that have said that they simply posted something because they wanted to appeal to others. And I just feel like, I don't know, it really surprised me. Just, I don't, like, it's frustrating because it's not a trend and it's not something that you should be doing to make yourself look good. You should be doing it because you truly believe in it and because you support the cause. And it amazes me how many people just don't understand that. So thank you for listening.
Facts. Sierra, this will be the last one and we'll move on to the next slide.
I'm responding to the second question as well. It's been frustrating me how a lot of people that I've been going to school with and calling myself friends with all 4 of these years have really indulged in Black culture and stand for everything that's Black except actually supporting us. And then I've noticed that a lot of Black people have been like coming to their defense and like trying to justify their actions. And that's kind of frustrating as well, because it's like these people are not for you. They don't care about your cause. They just care about your culture. So why are you jumping to their defense so quickly? And I've just been looking at it as people like exposing who they really are and like what their intentions and true colors really are. And I'm acting accordingly and distancing myself away from these people who have these different views than me, because if you are a person that wants to be around Black people and steal their culture and do all the things that we do, but you can't support us, then that's something that I don't want to be around.
I completely agree. And I agree with everything that everyone was saying about their encounters with people with different views than us. And I don't understand those views, which makes it hard to explain my view, because it's like when you believe something is right, it's hard to, I like feel like I would never even be put in a position to have to explain why and have to justify the fact that a cop murdering a Black man is wrong, you know? So it's confusing, and it puts us in a weird position to have to like explain something that's so black and white.
I was also going to say that it puts you in a position of you don't know what to do in terms of if you should even take the time to try to infiltrate that big, you know, their beliefs, like, because, you know, people are growing up in these things. Like, it's hard to tell somebody that life is completely different from what they've known since their birth. So it's like, do I take it upon myself to try to teach them whether or not that works, or if I just distance myself, like Sierra said? Because like I just feel like sometimes I'm fed up with explaining. I'm fed up with me having to take the role of history teacher. Like that's not something that's being shown all through social media or something like that.
Right. It's not necessarily our responsibility to educate people when they have the means to educate themselves. Like there's Google. Okay, want to move on to the next slide. So it's clear that what kind of kicked this off for the past like week or couple days, that there's been a lot of like posts and everything and a lot of stuff in the news about it. It's been kicked off by the George Floyd story. So I'm assuming you all know what happened with that and how the cop that was involved got charged with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. But now that we have the autopsy proven, I'm sure they'll change those charges because we've known and now they know that it was not an accident. I recently watched an IGTV of an interview with a witness for the George Floyd incident, and to hear the play-by-play of how George Floyd was murdered is so different than hearing, oh, this person was shot, oh, this person died. Like hearing that seems really impersonal, but to watch that interview and to hear him talk about just play by play everything that happened makes it such a different situation. So when you think about how that cop was standing on George Floyd with his knee across his neck for about 9 to 10 minutes, and you think about how he's just sitting there and people around him are telling him exactly what he's capable of and what he's doing to this man, and George Floyd was crying for help, you can see that he was completely aware of what he was doing. And so for people to know that and for it to still take this long to bring justice to this situation is completely absurd, and it just brings light to the fact that the system is corrupt. The cop who did it had 18 previous complaints before this incident, and the district attorney of Minnesota ignored those complaints. And she also became the state senator, and she's now one of the state senators for Minnesota. So that just goes to show how someone who's ignored complaints for a cop can make it and have like a position of power in these states, and how the system doesn't care about how fair you are when you're going to become a leader in your state. Another point I want to make is that police have historically been on the other side of the movement than we are. Policing came from slave overseers, so you know that like police have often been found at white supremacist groups, like marching, like movements for that. So we know that police have, like, most of the time, not all police, of course, but a lot of police have historically been on the other side of the movement than we are, which makes it really hard to trust them. And for example, with the Breonna Taylor story, where they had a search warrant for a different house, and they decided to just shoot at the door and shot Breonna Taylor. And it's like, how are these cops out here on the field when they do things like this that are completely irrational? And that's because of how corrupt our system is. And it comes down to way more than just one cop, just a couple cops. It comes down to the district attorneys. It comes down to the senators, and way up in our system where it's beyond us, and it's beyond firing a cop. It's beyond charging someone with murder. Like, of course, we need to serve justice, but there's way more to it than just having certain cops on the field. So the recent events have been a lot to see, especially in the light of policing. So have the recent events affected your views of the police, and why or why not? If you want to answer that question, you can type in the chat. Okay. Isley, you want to go?
So to answer that question, I think I would just say that yes, this has affected my views on police, because I feel like in the Black community, usually a lot of Black people don't really agree with the cops. They're not friendly, anything like that. If they have any issues, they don't call the police, you know. But I feel like this has just kind of proven that throughout social media that not all police are bad police, you know, not all cops are bad cops. And just to put that stigma on police, like, oh, they're all bad and I don't like the police and F the police and stuff like that, I just feel like it's kind of silly, because not all police killed Floyd. So that's just my personal opinion. I've never been against the cops, but it just opened my eyes to see that if you need them, they're there for you. And yes, there are bad cops, but there are also good cops who are willing to help you. And if you call them, they'll be there for you, you know? So, yeah.
Okay, Amaris, you want to go next?
Yeah, I just wanted to say about the recent events. I don't care for the police system in America, because it's built under, it's built under racism. A lot of it is meant to, bring the downfall upon Black and brown people. And I guess more people are becoming aware of that. Even if a cop isn't necessarily a bad person, they still believe in that's the police system. So, and the system in itself is bad and, needs to be changed. But I think just the recent events have just kind of made me and just more people kind of see we really do need to fix the police system in this country. It's affected people just so much more than actually genuinely helping people.
Kelby?
I just it hasn't changed my view. If anything, it's really strengthened it, because I feel like I'm gonna use an example I saw on a Chris Rock segment from one of his shows, and he was basically like, some jobs can't have bad apples. Like, people keep saying that, like, not all cops are bad. There's just a couple bad apples. And he was like, that's a funny way of saying murderer. And it's true, like, American Express can't be like some of our pilots like to land. There's just certain jobs where it's like, if one of them are bad and you don't do anything about it, you're the problem as well. So that's what I have to say about that.
I agree with that. Autumn, do you want to go?
Yeah, so like recently there's been a lot of looting in my neighborhood. I live on the southwest side, and there was just a bunch of looting like 2 days ago. Like the whole block is destroyed. And like the police, they kept like like putting their sirens and everything, but they were not coming to this neighborhood. They were still protecting like the north side and like the Trump Tower and places like that, and they're ignoring our neighborhood. And even though, you know, people have different opinions on the looting, but like, why are you ignoring this neighborhood? That does not make sense. And also, like, even though they're like Black people and Latino people in the police force, there are still like racist ideologies throughout that whole system. And like you said before, Zaya, like all of that started from slavery. So it's still rooted in negativity and white supremacy.
I totally agree with that. And I would like to also acknowledge, because this is something that I had to think about a lot because I have people in my family who are on the police force, thinking about how I think our community should be open to ways of allyship from police officers within the system, because I think that not all police officers that are minorities go into their job thinking about the system. Like, if anything, evaluating, the roots of the police system is something that's newer that we're talking about in society. So offering ways that they can, help from the inside in terms of using the power that they do have and making sure that they're actively changing, the racist type of people and beliefs that are in the system. I feel like that's still helpful, and we should acknowledge that, but it is a system that they are a part of, whether we like it or not.
I agree with that. And I agree. I mean, it's true that like there are cops who are not bad. Like we've seen videos of cops at protests who are standing with the protesters. And like, obviously not everybody's bad in any group. Like there's always going to be good people and bad people everywhere. I just feel like it's important that there are not as many bad cops, because the amount of power cops have makes it really detrimental for our country if we have bad cops. So I don't think it's important to say like generalize cops, because you shouldn't generalize any group, but to complain about the generalization of cops should come after the generalization of minorities, the generalization of Black people specifically, and how that leads to our deaths. So,
Could I add something?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe that you were talking about how like there's we shouldn't complain about the generalization of cops, and I do believe in that. I believe in that. But also there's also a lot of generalization that's going on for the protesters, and how they're all just violent, or we're all looting, but the media is actually hiding a lot of peaceful protests. Not that the violent the violent protests are all bad. I'm just saying that there's also a big generalization going on with how the protests are, and it could be really bad because they could try to almost like, I believe that it's even possible that they could use that to rewrite history and look at they could really do something really bad with that. Overall, I don't think that all cops are bad, but I am terrified of what's really going on, because I just see a lot of violence that's going on with not even that, but even how I just don't think the cops are handling it very well either. So I'm just in general just scared, to be honest. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I would like to say I do not think all cops are bad. Like I do say like the system is bad, but some cops, they still, maintain like being good.
Yeah, of course.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yep.
As you guys may or may not know, June is Pride Month, so I first off want to say Happy Pride to everybody. When I went to Pride last year, and it kind of does tie into like the whole Black Lives Matter because Pride was started by a trans woman of color. All Pride is not supposed to be. It's anti-cop. It's not. There's not supposed to be any cops there. However, the cops were there to serve and protect us, and I agree, all cops are not bad, but like the bad cops are definitely painting a bad picture for the good cops. I had this conversation with my mom yesterday about, I was saying like, I'm not really fond of the police right now, and my opinion still hasn't changed at all. So I'm like 50-50. I'm on the fence. Like, I believe that all cops are good. There are some good cops and there are some bad cops. At the same time, it's just like the cops are just not supposed to be at.
We can't ignore what they're doing.
Exactly.
So with some of.
Yeah. So I just wanted to jump in on that. I'm sorry.
Don't be. That was good. All right. Let's move on to the next topic.
Okay, so we people touched on this a bit, but we sort of just wanted to acknowledge this tweet that Trump tweeted, and I forgot who said it, but in comparison to when people were protesting in quarantine, he called them very nice people, but when we were out here fighting for our lives, called us thugs, and he basically said that he's ready to kill Black lives that are out there protesting. And he's obviously always been a very, he say just whatever he wants, and it's always just bad, to be honest. But he shows a blatant disregard for Black lives and disrespect for it. And I think it was very cowardly and unnecessary for him to go into the bunker whenever he did it and turn the lights out. Cause you're just abating the problem. So we just wanted to see how you guys felt about all the things that he's been doing and the things he's been saying based on this.
One thing I want to say before we open it up to everyone else is that if you think about a presidency and what that means, I don't know, for me, if I was president and I saw the unrest that was going on, I feel like as president, it's your responsibility to at least say some words to bring people together to try and stop the unrest, maybe instead of going and hiding in your bunker and tweeting about the thugs that are outside your White House. I just feel like a more a position that would demonstrate leadership would be to at least say something about it that is encouraging and tries to bring people together. And since he didn't do that, I feel like I don't know how you could support a leader who isn't trying to bring his country together. But that's my opinion. So now we'll open it up to everyone else.
I just wanted to talk about Trump. With what he's saying, Trump, I don't really consider him a president. You know what I'm saying? I don't consider him a leader. I think even on the news today, they called him a president that always wants to be at war. And I feel like he's just feeding into the cops pushing people. Because if you notice, cops weren't really some cops were taking knees. And then I saw in the news today that cops were pushing people. And I think that he empowers a lot of hate and he doesn't spread positive vibes in this country. Honestly, I don't want to disrespect any race here, but I feel like America owes a lot to the Black culture. Black culture, if you notice in the music, in the clothing, in everything that is present right now in 2020, a lot of people, even for example, the Kardashians, they're using the Black culture, and then when it's time to support the Black culture, everybody wants to just lay back and say, oh, well, they're being really disrespectful. Well, I mean, how would you feel if somebody killed, if this was a white man, they would have taken action a long time ago and they would have probably given the officer the death penalty. So I feel that, this inequality is it's just ridiculous. And Trump should just like stand down, honestly. And I honestly wonder where the presidential candidates are. Like Joe Biden was talking all positive about he was supporting black people. Where's Joe Biden at? And that's just my take on it. So yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, did anyone else notice how he mentioned the memory of George Floyd, trying to make it seem like he's like on our side too, while calling us thugs at the same time? It's just funny to me because it's like, you're such a snake. Like, shut up. Don't say anything else. You piss me off. That's it though. That's all I wanted to say about that real quick. Because all I do is laugh at him.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Like, I it's, I don't know if I can swear or not. It's just F Trump all day with me, honestly. I remember, I don't know if Charmin remembers, or was it, I don't know, but in True Star, we had this one student that was a Republican. He was black. And I kept asking to myself, like, how could you, like, he was voting for Trump. And I just like, how could you agree with everything that he's saying? He basically called us thugs, I always think back to that, But honestly, I think Trump is a coward. 100%, I think he's a coward. I think he deserved to be impeached fully. And the one thing I was like really highly encourage everybody, if you are 18 and older, please vote. Because we've been stuck with this for like 4 years now. I was 16 when he was elected, so now I'm 21, so I get to vote. But if you are old enough to vote, register to vote. It takes like only like 2 minutes, I promise you. I registered at Pride and it was like the best thing ever, I still have the stickers up, but it's ridiculous. Like, it's so ridiculous. And I blame everybody who voted for him that we got in this mess. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thanks. Everybody go vote.
Can I interject? Hey, thanks, Aaron, for mentioning me. I would definitely agree, with True Star and with After School Matters, we can't have any bias because all students are supposed to be allowed their perspective, and they're like, we're supposed to be a safe space. So if a student, feels a way or feels compelled to like their quote unquote president, I, as a teacher, can't say that's wrong. You know what I mean? I have to be fair to all students for their beliefs. However, I also do allow them to express why, because I feel like everybody does have a right to their opinion. However, if it gets dangerous, meaning like right now, if we were meeting in class, I would feel a little uncomfortable if I had a student that supported Trump, only because of the safety of my students. And I wouldn't want anything to happen to anybody. And with the protests happening and just a lot of stuff happening, it's a little uncomfortable. And I'm kind of grateful that we're on shutdown with meeting face to face. As far as the Trump Towers thing, I'm not gonna lie, it low-key would have been dope to see that like on fire, like seeing the cop cars. But people actually live there. I don't think a lot of people know that, but there's condos in the Trump's Tower. Yeah. And I honestly think that's the only reason why, it might not be the only reason, but I think that was part of the reason why they raised the bridges, because they saw you guys heading that way and they saw what happened on State and on like Michigan Ave. And they were like, oh no, we can't allow them to kill innocent residents. So I think that's what caused them to lift the bridge, to protect the safety of like innocent families, Yeah. But I want to ask an honest question to all of you all, based off what Trump's speech was last night, where he basically told Americans, like regular citizens, to use the right to their Second Amendment. And if any of you know the Second Amendment, it basically says you have the right to carry a weapon. You have a right to bear your arms. And so as youth, do you all feel comfortable with that? Because what if you're walking down the street and
No.
somebody points a gun out at you and you're too young to actually buy a gun, you're too young to buy a knife or whatever, and somebody targets you, how do you all feel about your own president basically telling people to harm you, and you can't protect yourself because of your age?
What, can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, first of all, I think what people start to forget, only reason why Trump was elected is because it's like proven that his dad is a KKK member, and he said on like national TV that he knew that the Republicans were going to vote for him. Yeah, sure. It's proven that, like he said, that the Republicans are dumb, so they're going to vote for him. And I do not think it's okay that he is telling people they can use. First of all, to even have a firearm, or any type of weapon, you have to have like a theft. What is it called? A FFOUID or something like that. You have to have like one of those like cards. I don't think that's okay. Like kids are on the street, like they gotta get on a bus to go to work. It's still like teenagers outside like working right now at this very moment. Is people, like some of my friends are literally going to work right now. I do not think that is okay that he is, and they literally trying to vote him out like right now. Like right now, people are saying they cannot wait till November. Because he's talking about he finna have the military, but he can't even have the military enter certain states without the governor's consent. So honestly, he a mess to me. He's a hot mess.
Facts. Sierra, jump in.
I wanted to go back to what Aaron was saying earlier. I don't just blame the people who went out and voted for him. I blame the people who chose to not vote as well, thinking that their voice didn't matter, because we obviously see what happened, and it could have went a completely different way if people decided to go out and vote instead of just sitting and doing nothing. And in terms of how I feel about Trump's actions, I stopped being surprised at the stuff that he says and does a long time ago. It's just like, at this point, it's just like, he said something else stupid. Like, what's new? What else is he going to say? It's not surprising anymore. It's just annoying that we have to deal with this because he's our president, not my president, but you get what I mean. But I just wish that it was something that we could do, but it's like our own country's leader doesn't like us. So it's like, how are we expected to thrive and win when the person that's supposed to be on our side is literally against us?
Also, can I say something else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just find it funny how he waits to his last year in office to do all this stuff, to literally ruin it, like the world, like literally the world, like it's not falling apart, but a lot of stuff, they're looting everywhere. Like my brother asked me, is it GTA outside? Like there's no reason a 9-year-old should be asking me, is it GTA outside? There's no reason. No reason at all. Like he literally waits to his last year in office to like clown and think he's finna get reelected. That's funny to me. I just thought I should say that. That's hilarious. Like
To build on to what everyone was saying, I also think that when it comes to arming ourselves, he's not talking about Black people arming themselves, because we know exactly what will happen when Black people start to arm themselves. And it won't be, oh, it's okay, they can arm themselves. We will die because we were armed. And on top of that, I think this tweet just shows how important educating ourselves is. Like, we have to be able to take control and do what we got to do so that this doesn't happen again. This man should never, or anyone similar to this man should ever be elected again. This is why it's so important for school. That's why I think like with the police system, so much of the funding needs to be redirected to other things. There's child protective services, there's education. CPS is struggling. And I don't think it's okay, especially arming ourselves. Oof, that's going to be a whole nother mojo right there. But that's what I wanted to say.
I want to jump in one more time. I just think it's really funny going off what Maya said that I was just thinking about it. You know, Nickelodeon has like way more respect for their own viewers than the president of the United States. you know? I don't know if you guys saw, but Nickelodeon basically went off air for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which was the exact same time that the police officer had his knee on George's neck. They went off air for like 8 minutes, and basically people were like upset because it was like breathing, and it was saying like I can't breathe, and someone was breathing like really heavily, like someone's like dying and everything. And people were mad about that, but I'm just like, you're mad over someone a kid's channel when they have way more leadership than our own president, so-called president, should I say? Like, come on, you know. So I would definitely like go on Twitter and like type up like Nickelodeon right now, because they're killing it right now, and Cartoon Network too.
I want to add to that, like, that's to even say that it's a problem that's being shown on a kid channel. Black kids are told from the beginning, like, police are dangerous. You're gonna have instances where people think you're dangerous just because of your skin color. Like, we're met with that idea very early. I'm sure everybody's had the talk with their parents. If you're
facts,
had the talk where they had to sit you down, which is like something that shouldn't be happening, but like that's something that goes on in the Black community. So it's like, it's very empowering to see people like Nickelodeon putting on that commercial so other people can understand that that's something that you need to be aware of.
At the same time, though, like, should we even be praising these corporations for doing this? It's like, that's expected for me. I mean, maybe it's not necessarily expected, but it should be expected for all of these big corporations to be advocating for this, because how could you not? You know?
Yeah. I think it's important for the kids to see. It makes them like think like, oh, it's like actual like monsters out here like killing our people. Like, my brother should be able to walk the street, go run, go to the library, ride his bike, literally do anything when he gets older, and not be able to get shot.
Right.
I also think that we need to start educating them a little bit more. My brother just turned 9 recently, and he's always asking me like, wait, what happened? Like, he knows what happened, but he doesn't know what to do with what happened. Like, he doesn't know how to process it. One minute he's on TikTok, which I think is something as well. Like, so many of our older siblings have access to social media. And I feel like we as teenagers and older siblings need to be able to talk to them about this and tell them what's going on so they know what's going on and they can educate their peers. My brother still goes to predominantly white institution. And I can tell you, they on Zoom and they don't know what's going on. But he's forced to, as a Black 9-year-old, to contemplate, like, this can really happen to me. And there's no way in the world, this has been happening for decades, that Black people should have to have conversations with their kids like it's the birds and bees about the police.
Wait, can I piggyback off of that? It's so crazy, like, growing up Black, like, even, like, the whole, like, colorism thing, like, the whole, like, light skin, like, dark skin, like, even that, like, growing up, they tell you, like, certain, like, even in Black families, not saying my family. Oh, okay, my family too. My mama's saying, oh, call them out. Okay. So, like, it would be people that tell you, like, since you like a certain skin color, like, I've been told, mommy. You say something, you are being aggressive. The Lord said something, you have. Exactly. So, yeah. So I have this, mommy, you gonna let me talk? Okay. The parents are intervening. So, like, even just like in like family, like, literally, like the whole like colorism thing, and like just growing up as a Black girl, like, especially me, I'm very dark skinned, and I have like certain cousins, like, if someone like a glass vase broke, they gonna look at me first before they look at her, because she's mixed with white, and she's Black and white, and they gonna think, oh, okay, it was her, she did it, like, it's the wild dark one, like, she did it, like, literally. And that's and it's also in our families too, like, colorism is so bad. It's so bad. My mom used to tell me, like, me and my brother, my brother's lighter than me, like, you are beautiful, like, you can do this, you can do that, like, you can, like, I can't even explain it. It's so, like, frustrating. I'm not trying to get in like into some real like childhood like trauma type stuff, when it's like a lot of what we do deal with now, kids these ages, it's like past slave traumas. Like past, like they literally used to do that. Okay, if you light skin, you in a house. The dark you are, you in the field, you gonna pick the cotton. And like for the pretty dark skinned girls, okay, you cute or whatever, we gonna make you a comfort girl. And like we all know, the kids mixed with white or the master's children, y'all was just like they were just like freely to do really kind of anything. I mean, they were either in the house working or just like running around literally crazy, like running around as if they were like one of them, which is like the whole like colorism thing. They teach you that like growing up still, that is a past slave trauma, and it's so bad. It's so bad. That kind of like got off topic a little bit, but it's still on topic at the same time. But yeah,
it's important to.
But that's how I'm interpreting it, because that's how like I grew up, and that's how I know some of these kids. Like I literally have little girls that I dance with all the time. They're like the same color as me. Oh, they told me I couldn't wear this like outfit because like I'm too dark. Don't let no, like I used to tell these little girls, don't let these little other little girls like, and they teaching these two little girls. They teaching little girls to do this to each other. This is like past like trauma. Like you can't do this because you too dark. Oh no, she's light enough so she can do that. Like, you know, that's just how I'm interpreting it. But it's different for everybody.
Right. That's important. Okay, Patience, do you want to jump in?
So my mom is a homeschool teacher and all my siblings are homeschooled. And with everything that's going on right now, she has been teaching them about the racial, like the whole history, which is why she pulled them out of school, to teach them their true history without it being watered down or whitewashed or whatever. And my little sister, she was moved to tears about why she's treated differently. And it like just breaks my heart because she's 9 years old. And it's just like, we all grow up and we all have to have this conversation at one point or another. And it's something that we shouldn't have to have. Like, she shouldn't have to be in her room crying about like why she's not treated the same as a little white girl. And, or even as some of the people in our family, because we're all different colors in my house. So it's like, why she would be looked at differently since she's not as light as me or our youngest sister. And it's frustrating because you want to help them, but you're like, I don't know how to help you without just burning it all to the ground and starting all over again, especially while they're so young. That's all I say.
Props to your mom. Like that's very much empowering, the fact that she took your siblings out of school and is homeschooling them. And I think one thing about why it's so frustrating is we shouldn't have to teach our kids, like we shouldn't have to know from the beginning that like people are going to target us for our skin color. And it's like, it's sad that we as a race have to figure that out by ourselves, and we have to deal with the stereotypes and the things that other people put on us for no reason. I think Jada wanted to jump in too.
Hey guys, I just wanted to talk about like the voting and stuff, because like it's very important that the Black community like educates themselves before they vote, because like historically like the Democratic Party was racist too. And like I don't really think it's more of like which political party you belong to, like which person is going to like address like the issues of the Black community, because like a lot of people want to vote for Joe Biden just because he was the vice president of Obama, but at the same time like some of the stuff that he stands for isn't something that the Black community would accept. So I just think it's very important that everyone does their research on each person that's running before they vote.
Very important to acknowledge as well.
Do you all genuinely believe that voting, or not even voting, but based off what's occurring in the world right now, that we can completely destroy our government and just restart and rebuild altogether? Because a lot of people don't vote because they feel like their vote doesn't even count because of the Electoral College. And if any of you know what the Electoral College is why Trump actually got in office. Like, according to the data, the votes were saying that Hillary was going to win, but the Electoral College trumped the people's votes, and he ended up winning. And so now that Biden is starting to run, a lot of people feel like both candidates aren't worthy of being president. And if everybody, or if the majority of people in America feel that way, doesn't that cause for, hey, maybe we should pause an election this year and actually restructure our government to where the people actually feel comfortable in the candidates that's running?
It's just a matter of like, will people actually do that? I don't know.
Can I say something? Yeah. I totally agree that people would agree with like doing that, because like with Black people, if you don't know, like Black Wall Street burned down, Tulsa burned down, Red Summer burned down. It was a red, like we are Black. The Black race is like the number one known race from known for like restarting some stuff up. Like all we know is rebuild and start all over again. So Black people, they would be 100% ready to like restart a whole new government, have some new bills passed, have some they will be all. I'm pretty sure they will be all for it. We so used to having to break it all down, having somebody break our stuff all down and having to rebuild it again. We're so used to that.
I hope that's the case. Our next topic is based on our reactions to everything that's going on. And I think this is touchy, but there's a lot of different opinions on both of these things. I feel like these are the biggest two controversies in terms of how we're reacting. So first off, peaceful protesting versus riots, and whether that's okay, and whether and where that comes from, I should say. And then also social media. I think it's important to acknowledge that Black Twitter is the voice that we've always needed as a race, and the fact that these protests probably wouldn't be happening if we didn't have all these videos to see in our faces every day that causes the rage. So I think it's important that we have that and that we continue to share videos so that things don't die down. But there's also the blackout on Instagram, where people are saying to post black screens to deflect from the normal posts of people who have the privilege of not being affected by what's going on. And then there is also people saying that we shouldn't be doing the blackout because it drowns out the important posts. So I just want to get a sense of where you guys are at with that, because there's a lot of controversy on both of those topics, even within the Black community. Like within us, like it's very divided on these topics. So I just want to see where everybody stands. So comment if you want to talk about this. Let's have Isley go, and then Amaris.
So I would like to speak on the protests versus rioters. And I just wanted to say that me personally, my opinion is I don't even consider people, looters, protesters, because I feel like they really don't stand for anything. And even though they're doing this because of Floyd, I feel like it's a deeper reason. It's not because of his death. And I feel like it's a dishonor of his death. So I don't really even consider them protesters. I consider them pro-destruction, because that's all that they've caused in communities around our city. And even in the suburbs, I went to Oak Brook and they literally threw hammers in Benny's, the liquor store, if you're familiar with Benny's. And I just feel like it's a disgrace. It honestly is. And I see that they want their voices to be heard, but at the same time, that's not the way to go about it. I feel like if you want your voice to be heard, even if you don't know how to protest, pray, talk to people at home, have those conversations, because that's always the first step. So yeah, that's just my opinion. So
I wanted to comment on both the protest riots and blackout Twitter. I don't necessarily, I understand riots, I do, because Black people have been sitting here for 400 plus years. We've tried the peaceful protest. People have to understand that riots are the last option. Nobody wants a riot. I don't think, I understand it's very damaging what riots can do. That's for sure. That's the truth, the looting and things like that. But people just have to realize like these are last options. This just wasn't oh, let's go and mess stuff up today. We've tried everything else. So when you keep on doing violence onto people and you keep on committing injustice onto people, are you surprised that that's the reaction that you get? So that's just my opinion on that. And Blackout versus Twitter. I don't have a problem with Blackout. I just think people should use the hashtag Blackout, hashtag Blackout or Blackout Tuesday instead of Black Lives Matter, because there is a lot of people posting very valuable information under the hashtag Black Lives Matter, and it's kind of being drowned out by those posts. But I still understand like the intent of those posts. They just should use a different hashtag.
I agree with that completely.
Okay, so I'd like to go next. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I have opinions of both these topics. For protest versus riots, I feel like the reason why there's riots is because it's gotten to the point where the protests are getting drowned out by the police. So that's why these riots are happening in the first place. And some people are abusing the what they can do with the riots, and that's not good. But there's also a lot of things like police, like I've seen video like police like just doing some destruction themselves to make it look like other people are.
Hey Zach, can you make sure you're not covering? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. My mic is really quiet, so I'm gonna have to go on PC because this phone has a messed up
We can
mic.
hear you now.
So
Continue.
okay. I have to talk into the mic then. Well, okay, I'll start over. For the protester I have opinions on both of these topics, and for protest versus riot, I feel like versus the riot, I feel like the reason why that's happening is because it's gotten to the point where protests are getting drowned out by like the cops, and that's why they're happening in the first place. And and there's just more to it. For example, I've seen like a video of like police officers and are just causing destruction themselves to make it look like the rioters look bad. And there's also there are also writers who are just not even supporting the movement at all. I just feel like there's underlying tone of making them look bad. Some are bad, like some are doing the wrong thing. But I feel like there's a lot of things going on there besides just rioting is bad. There's just so much going on that for why that is happening. For the blackout movement, I feel like it is a very horrible idea to tag your posts with Black Lives Matter, because it is drowning out a lot of important information. For example, like bailing and fundings and etc. I feel like it would have been much more powerful if on Blackout or Blackout Tuesday, I'm sorry, getting the day wrong, but I feel like it would have been a lot more powerful if they just made the post and there were no hashtags at all. This is your post, because I feel that would have been a lot more powerful for the message it was trying to make. So that is my take.
Thank you.
Hey guys. Hey, this is a great conversation. This is Portia here. But I just wanted to throw in something to consider when you're looking at the riots versus the protests. So if we were to consider the current state of just low income housing, right? And how it's been affected by COVID. So you have people who are not only outraged by the system, who may be out of work, and the only money they've received in the past 3 months was $1,200. And then you add on just built up anger, because we all know that, well, we had a previous discussion about it, how the Black community is so well grazed around mental health, but we're not. So when you come to looking at all of these things, coming off of 3 months of being locked in the house, not being able to work, frustration of being just Black, and then piling on being killed by police by yet another example, I think people would lose it. So if you like, I'm not saying I support it, but I understand it. I understand completely and wholeheartedly why people are outraged. And I just want you all to think about that clip that Tupac had about sitting behind a glass and they're eating shrimp and lobster on the other side of the glass, right? But he said first you might tap to get in, ask politely, then you might start banging. I'm paraphrasing it. You might start banging, and then eventually you're gonna pick the lock and open the door. And I think that's essentially what happened with this. So just also please tie in what the previous conditions of the world were like before this. So that's my 2 cents, and I'm out. Bye, guys.
Facts. I think we should have everybody speak on this. So Patience, Kelby, Maya, Emma, Mike, and then Zuri.
Piggybacking off what she just said, people were, employment went up a lot due to COVID-19. So when people talk about looters, and not all looters are, people out of work looking for something to eat. Some people do just want to cause distraction, but we should keep in mind that there are people out here that have only gotten $1,200 a month for 1 month. And, I got 10 people in my house. That goes very fast, just on groceries alone. So you can't, I feel like I understand why some people are doing it, even if they're seen as opportunists. This may be people's first chance to get out and, fight for survival based off of this. We have no idea when some people who are looting like grocery stores and stuff, when their last meal was. We have no idea. While I'm not saying go rob Apple or Nike or anything else that is like not essential, even though, yes, they're billion-dollar corporations, they got insurance, it makes a statement. I believe that the protests and riots go hand in hand. While we have people that are out here protesting peacefully, a lot of people are actually out here protesting peacefully, and then it escalates to riots due to police involvement. I do think that riots get attention, and riots are getting the attention of everyone, not just in America, but worldwide. And it's a degree that peaceful protests may have not. Because while a lot of people are looking back to MLK and his peaceful movement for civil rights, that was a different era where television was just being, it was a new thing. So yeah, now people are actually seeing the violence and that we're just getting beat for being Black. But now it's so common, and you need to get the attention back. And yeah, I understand. They go hand in hand. And I get why people are rioting. I don't condone it completely if your intentions are not where they should be, but I understand why people are out there.
I completely agree with that. Kelby, you're next.
I agree with both the protests and the riots. Obviously, like there's the bad side of the riots, like it's causing destruction. But think about it in the way that they're targeting their anger and violence towards buildings, while cops and other corporations are targeting it on lives. And I'd rather see the destruction of buildings than lives which aren't able to be revitalized. And also with the blackout, I love that people are showing their support by posting these black squares, but I think there also needs to be action behind it. The idea isn't just to be silent, it's to bring all the attention towards a cause. And in addition to just posting these squares, you should also be posting information and things that are relative to the cause, because people are losing sight of what it's actually about, and they're using it as a trend rather than as a resource. So
Always fair. Maya?
I totally agree with, oh, wait a minute. I totally agree with, well, I think her name was Portia, if I'm not wrong. I totally agree, like, with what she's saying, like, especially, what I kind of don't agree with is with people looting Black businesses. I don't agree with that. What was the other one? was a lot of talking. I low-key forgot. I lost my track. What was the other question? There was another question, right?
Black.
If I'm not. Oh, the black. I don't agree with that because if you think about it, okay, they're saying like this is the music industry, which is also tied to the dance industry. In order to get anywhere in life, unfortunately, for a black person, you have to go through somebody white, right? So, a lot of these music industries and like the record companies they are signed to, 9 times out of 10, a white person came up with this idea. Think of it, the name is called Blackout. When at a certain time in America, in life, when we are trying to get our voices heard, and I looked up a definition of blackout, and it means like a power outage or something, or low in supply, low in supply, and you know it ain't active. It's like MIA basically. I don't agree with it because like it's just this didn't come from a black person. They are telling these people to put stuff on their platform because also a lot of these black people that are now just getting on, or artists period, they like, well, y'all not finna take my job away from me, so I might as well just go ahead and do this. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get the whole blackout thing. Like the black is not out. The black is definitely in. We are using our voices to do. I just don't agree with that like at all. Like I don't get the whole blackout. Like that's not right from this. Right. That means they don't want us to like, that doesn't sound right to me. And this is obviously, if it came from the music industry and it's tied to the dance industry, 9 times out of 10, it was made from a white person. And this idea came from a white person, period. That's why I refuse to post it on my account. And I refuse to be affiliated, whatever. We are not black out. Black is definitely in. Y'all are all thriving off of it. Y'all been thriving off of it. We built this country. Black people built this country off blood, sweat, and tears and hope. And y'all thrive off our stuff like it ain't nothing. So black is definitely not out. Black is definitely in. So I just don't agree with anybody like doing that right now. Right? Y'all want to wear exactly. Culture appropriating, like everything.
But I also think that there is a different intention behind it. So let's have Emma go.
I just wanted to speak on like social media stuff a little bit. I've used like, considering that I have, aside from Whitney Young, grown up on like predominantly white communities. I feel like obviously from that most of my followers are white. And so like my platform, I guess, in this situation is to like share a lot of resources to not only donate and sign and all that, but also like resources for white people to, you know, educate themselves and recognize their privilege and all that. And like, I've noticed a lot of my peers, like even when I explain that, they still kind of don't want to ruin their feed or like don't want to, you know, seem too political towards some of their other white followers that may not be speaking out on these issues, which is like the most frustrating part to me. Like I feel grateful to have like my closest group of friends be pretty aware, but I've really taken note of people using this blackout as just super performative and just ways to make themselves feel better. And I've really taken note that most of the people on my Snapchat or whatever have stayed silent up until this point and then just, you know, thrown out a black screen. So I think with these social media trends, it's not white people's jobs to create them in the first place and also speak on the ones that black people are using to like amplify their voices. So yeah, I've just seen like a lot of white people take on roles on social media that are not theirs and take on roles, you know, of just asserting their opinions that aren't necessary in these situations. So I think that's been like the most frustrating part for me, is just not listening to the voices that actually matter in the situation and trying to like boost their egos. So yeah.
Wait, can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is that if you think about it, when it comes to stuff politically, like I said, you want to do anything in life as a black person, you have to go through somebody white. Unless it's like even like predominant like people with straight up like black businesses, they have to go through somebody white to get to whatever they trying to get to, like, you know what I mean? So that's why like with the whole blackout thing, and then the whole blackout thing is so funny. It's such an easy way for people to get the easy way out. Like y'all white too, so y'all gotta use y'all voices. Like, I mean, not y'all white too, but I'm saying like y'all are white, and y'all most of y'all. Okay, how am I trying to say this? Y'all you guys have more power than we do on any day.
They do not. Yeah.
They've created right. When my mom said you guys created a system so that y'all are overpowering us, period, or anybody of color. So yeah.
I think
that's why I'm saying
the point of blackout is not like, I feel like the point of blackout was to drown out the posts of the people who are not affected by this and who are posting just their everyday stuff.
Yeah. And I just
meant, but you got to think about it, because like blackout is also the easy way out. That it ain't nothing to just put your phone down and you know, take a picture of a black screen. People are not like, I've literally seen a video today of this white woman going up there trying to act like she's boarding up a business.
I saw that too.
Oh, thank you. You can have this back. Giving it back to the Mexican man. Like, that's what I mean. Like, people are also using this to take the easy way out. That's why I just don't agree with it, period. Because
and
like
I don't think that blackout or taking a break from social media today should mean that you stop taking action. I think that you should still be
I never said stop taking action. I'm just saying it's just such an easy way out for anybody. I mean, not for anybody.
But I think it's still something that people can do. Like,
yeah. No, I was just.
I'm not saying don't do. I'm totally not saying. I mean, I'm not trying to force my opinion on anybody. But since this is an open discussion, I'm just saying, like, I disagree, like, with people just doing that. Because, like I said, if you want to do anything, you think Beyonce had to go get through somebody white to even get to where she is right now. Like, who on Parkwood? Who on Parkwood?
I think people are all like, there's always going to be.
Exactly.
There's always going to be people who want to take the easy way out, but that's given. But we have to focus on the people who are actually paying attention, who are actually taking action. People going to do that, period. They're going to do that regardless. It's human nature. Nobody, you haven't met a lazy person before? Like, they do this all the time. We've seen it before. But we have to look past that and pay attention to those who are actually taking action. I don't know how I feel about blackout. I haven't quite made a decision on it, but it may be an easy way out. But I feel like there's majority of people who are actually trying to take action. They're putting their opinions and saying what they said on their social media platforms because they feel some type of way. So I think people gonna do that regardless. It's life.
Exactly. But we also got to look beyond. Hold on, but she's breaking up. Did she leave the chat?
No, you can go.
Go, Maya.
She leave the chat? Oh, okay. Oh, so basically what I was trying to say is just like, first of all, the whole name, like, if black people really want to like get into some things and like do something for real, why would you ever call it blackout? Look up the definition for that blackout. That doesn't even. I
feel like you're overthinking it. That's not
even overthinking it. That's not even overthinking it. That's just like straight up like. Look up the definition of blackout. Like I sent you. Look up the definition of blackout, and you tell me. Like that's not a good idea to be putting that on social media. Like. Blackout. There's no blackout, y'all. We are definitely in. Everybody's doing what we are doing.
They've been in.
We've been in. But I just don't think that was like a good idea.
Okay, let's have.
And then and with the whole like page or whatever, like the whole like post or whatever, like this was like made from people in like the music and the dance industry, which is like I'm a dancer. I'm signed to Clear Talent in LA. Like I had to get through two white women. Actually, I didn't even have to audition. I was scouted by a white woman. Like, these are the people who are telling like people to do this. Like, 9 times out of 10, that's what I'm saying. Like, ain't nobody black come up with a blackout. Ain't nobody black come out with a blackout. It's the people above them.
Okay, we're gonna have Zuri, Sierra, and then Corey.
Okay, so I agree with Jordan's point that we should be focusing on the people who are actually taking action. And I see a lot of white people or even Black people who haven't said a single thing about any of these issues and who just posted the black screen. And I think that's problematic for this blackout, but that's not who we should be focusing on. Like, yeah, you can say like, oh, like, why would you even participate if you've been silent the whole time? But we shouldn't even be focused on that. We should be focused on the people who are actually getting out and who are taking action and doing the right thing for this issue. Like, I don't know. It just seems like we're not focused on the right thing. If that
We
makes
are
sense.
definitely focused because people definitely got out there and protest, and they still protesting. Like, this is a worldwide thing.
No, I'm not
This
talking
is
about.
y'all asked for the opinion on the blackout, and I just gave it to you. Like, I just don't think that was a good idea. Like, from the name, like, period, blackout, like, that doesn't even make any sense.
But that's
to me.
It's the message inside of the name. The name could have been anything, but it's the
And the message, and if you Google it and you look up that's like having your street ever go your whole like electricity ever like just shut down, like your whole street, like you ain't never had that. Have you ever had like the whole street just like shut down on you?
Yeah.
Your electricity don't work. You're lucky if your phone is charged. Like,
yeah,
I just don't think that was like a good idea to name it blackout. That's all I'm saying.
I think I have to. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I'm saying, like, I agree with what you're saying, and I think it's a really valid point, but I don't think it should be what we're completely focused on. I think we should be focused on the message behind it.
Well, how are we gonna say that's not what we're supposed to be completely focused on if we having like a whole like conversation?
No, I'm referring to the name, like, specifically, but like
y'all asked about how you felt about the blackout, and I said what.
I appreciate that you did.
Yeah, and I think the point is valid.
Yeah, like I think the one thing I have to say is, like, I agree with you, but I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree. Like, I think, to me, the blackout is showing me how many people care. That's just my opinion, but you are absolutely right.
I think the protest is showing who really cares.
I think all of the ways that we're reacting to the issues show how people care. So that
I think there's
I came with it. I don't.
Can I interrupt you all for a second? I just wanted to say I'm gonna be right back because they're actually about to protest outside of my house. But it's a faith-based protest. That's what I was saying. I support peaceful protests, and this is a perfect example. So it's lots of church leaders and everything. So I got to get it on Snapchat. I can show
Yes, you do. Go ahead, interview him, Isley.
Yeah, I'm gonna be back.
All right, Isley. Sierra, you asked to speak.
I think in terms of the blackout, the thing that I had the biggest issue with was the fact that people were using the hashtag Black Lives Matter. And I won't even lie, in the beginning I was doing the same thing, but then I saw posts saying not to, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. So I removed the hashtag from my post because I don't want people to be missing out on getting information that they wouldn't have got otherwise because it's not broadcast on the news, or this is just like the form of like whatever that they choose to find the information from. In terms of the name, I see how it could be like, oh, Black people out, like, no, but I interpret it in the way that it's like black out all of the posts that don't have to do with the cause and like making people be aware of what is happening instead of people like the social media influencers or just regular people in general who aren't talking about the issue and are continuing to post as if nothing is happening. I see it as being something that blocks that out and sheds more light on the situations that we are taking very seriously instead of things that don't matter as much.
Facts.
Corey wanted to go, right?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say like any movement or like kind of performative demonstration, like there's gonna be people who take like just do it because other people are doing it. But I don't see anything wrong with it. Like I don't think it's hurting anything besides obviously the people using hashtag Black Lives Matter. I think that the message kind of got muffled in all the sharing and stuff because the initial point of it was to like not stream and to like just specific things and not to like just be silent or like just post a screen and like shut off. But I think I just think it's like a way to show that you support and like that's it. Like and then also I don't want to like stir up again another conversation about the name, but I think if we're being super literal, a blackout is when everything's black and all the posts are black. That's all it means. That's all. Like yeah. So yeah.
Also, like going off that, I think the like point of the blackout was supposed to black out all posts that weren't related to the Black Lives Matter movement and like black out any other posts that weren't showing solidarity and support. So just like people's selfies and all that. So I think like that's where the name came from.
Yeah, I honestly like it made me feel better scrolling down on Instagram and not seeing people's just all their selfies and their gas station photos, like blah blah blah. I'd rather see people's black screens and them talking in their comments, like educating people and giving resources on their stories and stuff like that, rather than me seeing people just living their daily lives. So I don't know, that was just my personal thing because I was very tired of seeing, everybody posting their quarantine fits or whatever, during this time.
People are confused. But if you read the description of Blackout Tuesday from the music industry, which is where I saw it first, and then from the dance industry, it just says nobody's posting, save your selfies, stuff like that. Like
it was supposed to be like sort of not going to like live classes, like not doing like class videos, posting that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think there was a lot of people just living their regular lives, like after.
I feel like we're on the same page.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this before we move on? Wrap it up.
Can I speak real quick?
Yeah.
Like we're not trying. I don't know if Maya is still in here. She left. I was gonna say, we weren't trying to like diminish of what she was saying, Yeah. I think she had a very valid point. However, for me, I listen to mainly pop music, so like it felt really good to see like all the pop artists to like black out and everything. It felt really good to see that. But, with the whole, I want to switch it to like the Twitter thing. I think the protesting, I was there on Saturday, It was a very emotional ride because like it was a lot of emotion there. I felt the emotion. A lot of people were there with good intentions and everything. And I feel like as a Black person, I'm Black and Irish at the same time. So like as an Irish person as well, we had to fight for our lives too. I don't know if you guys heard of the Troubles and everything. And basically they were like harassing, like Northern Ireland was harassing, Britain was harassing Northern Ireland and Ireland. So it was a constant war between them and we protested and everything. So as a Black and Irish person, I get it, there was riots, but like if I feel like destroying buildings is just not going to spread the message across because that's going to make businesses bad. And also that's a lot of rebuilding too. So that's just my opinion on that.
I wanted to ask Mike, you had you said something in the chat that I felt like was important to touch on. If you'd like to speak about that, that'd be great. Otherwise, I can. Okay. He said, but what about everyone, or what about when people are destroying their own neighborhoods? Maybe I'll touch on that already. So we didn't touch on that. And I think it's not smart to be destroying things on the south side of Chicago or any underserved community in Chicago just because that gives the government means to gentrify those areas, because we know that our Black community doesn't have the funds to rebuild those areas. So I feel like that's not smart. And to address, Aaron, what you said, even if riots are not going to get, or looting is not going to get the point across, I feel like it's less a strategy and more of a reaction and more of just an outcry than a strategy. And I feel like in terms of strategies, in my opinion, the best strategy is to focus on progressing as a race, focus on progressing as a person. For us, I feel like a lot of us in here, we go to good schools, we have resources to become really powerful people. And clearly, since you're on here, everybody who spoke, I feel like y'all are really well spoken, like you have opinions that you can use. And when you reach your full potential, like you could easily be in a place where you have leverage to make the necessary changes. So part of what I said when I posted my Black picture is that the more Black people we have achieving success, the more leverage we'll have to make the necessary changes. And I feel like progressing as a race, even though that's going to take a while because it's going to happen when we're an older generation, I feel like that's the most solid way of creating the change we need, because I feel like it's important to do it from the inside. Like we need power to change things. And I feel like we can get that power if we get our education and we reach our full potential as people.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Well, I completely agree with that. And I feel like one of the problems with the protests versus riots is that everyone's kind of looking at it really holistically, and it has much more layers than that. Like, we know that the media is not portraying protests as they should, the peaceful parts, if anything. And the riots, like Zaya was saying, is more of a reaction and less of a strategy. And for it to be like taken in a context that this is what our goal is, like for the movement, is to just cause destruction, is like kind of like diminishes the whole purpose, because it's not like we wanted this to happen. It's not like this was our whole plan, we want to burn down buildings. It's because of everything that's happened, and I don't think that's being portrayed enough.
I agree. If anyone else has any last comments to share, it doesn't necessarily have to be about reactions. It can just be any of your last little 2 cents, and then we'll wrap it up.
I wanted to give my 2 cents on what you guys were saying. So, like, how you guys had talked about, like, neighborhoods destroying each other right now. I wanted to point out in how some movies they talk about that. So, like, I remember watching the movie Black Panther, and how they were talking about how the neighborhoods were like in so much destruction and they wanted to retaliate. And I was kind of relating it today, talking to my family about how like people are rioting. I don't think that the rioting, like when people take advantage of the protests and like the cause of it, I think that's bad. But I think that, you know, I think everybody has a right to feel the way that they feel towards the government. Because I know that there's white people out there that actually support, you know, minorities. So I don't want to say that all white people are bad, but I wanted to relate it to how, you know, we should look at this as a way, or even more of a reason to come together and, you know, rebuild a stronger foundation. And, you know, one thing I've always admired about the Black community was how they took the negative and turned it into a positive. You know, like how, you know, even with, I don't know the name of the food, but I remember I had ate this certain food, and they were explaining to me how, you know, during slavery times, this would be given to Black people, and how traditionally this was like You know, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. Was it? I think it was called Chitlins or something like that. How, you know, and it was really good. And I was like, wow, where did this come from? You know, I want to learn about it. It's really good. And they were telling me how during slavery, you know, that people had pigs to eat, or, you know, different animals, and they made the best out of it. And that's just, you know, I just want to throw that out there, that that's something admirable. I think all cultures could respect about the Black community overall.
That's so true. I appreciate you acknowledging that.
So yeah.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that the riots or the loots diminish the purpose. I do think it gives means of invalidating it through bad publicity and media representation. But I think the problem more so came in when people began to challenge Black corporations and Black businesses rather than focusing on challenging the white man's economic status. So.
Thanks.
Could I add something?
Yes.
Okay, so overall, I feel like for the riots that I'm not against that they're happening. I'm more against the fact that I just wish that it was more structured. To be honest, I feel like we should just go after something that would make a lot more sense overall. And I feel like another part of it is that a lot of the things are going on like I said it before, but what's going on in those riots is there's a lot of people just trying to influence what we're actually doing. I told you there's actually like a video of a cop who just broke some glass in the store to make it look like it was the rioters. So I just think that we're still also a mess, but the riots are still kind of a mess because of, you know, Black businesses are getting destroyed and etc. So I feel like it should be more controlled, we should try to do like a more controlled type of protest, even if it is a riot. That's all I really want to add.
I agree. Coco next.
All right, I just want to say that while I don't want to I get why people it should be structured or organized or whatever, but I just feel like it's been structured for centuries at this point and nothing's working. Peaceful protests are structured, then the police come and jack those up, and
I agree.
To do I think I think Albert Einstein said, this is a really cliche quote, but doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. So I just think why should we keep doing the same thing? People keep posting pictures of Martin Luther King Jr. Walking peacefully, but they don't post the 10 minutes later him being beaten down and arrested on the side of the street. It's never gonna be organized, structured.
I'm not even against the riots at all. I'm just saying that
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying.
Okay, all right.
What's happening? Obviously, I don't want to see my community. I don't want to see glass on the ground and people looting the Jewel Osco. Where am I supposed to get my prescription? But I still think the pressing issue is the illness, not the symptoms. So that's all I want to say.
Facts. One question I just want to pose is, let's think about solutions. So I kind of touched on what I think, but I think it's important for our generation to be thinking solution focused, because this has been a problem for so long, and it's really discouraging to see how things that have happened in the Jim Crow South that we feel like we've progressed from are coming out in these times, just in more discreet ways. So it's going to be up to us to figure out a different strategy and how to make that change, because it hasn't for 400 years. So does anybody have any ideas? Amaris, go ahead.
So I think it's very important that people realize we should boycott businesses. That has had effect before. The Montgomery bus boycott, they walked or they found ways to commute within their community. And then, a little bit later, discrimination or segregation on the bus was outruled in the Supreme Court. So I feel like it's very important for people, the Black community, anybody supporting Black Lives Matter to just boycott some of these businesses, because we've seen it done before, that's when action is taken on a government level.
That's true. I feel like that would be really effective, and I feel like we can coordinate that. Like we can facilitate that. That's possible.
Yeah, like I don't know if you guys know about is it the No Spending Day is it July 7th that they propose, where, you know, like all Black people and minorities in general don't spend any money, and basically you'll see how much, you know, our money drives the economy and stuff like that. Like the thought of just not spending any money for a day seems very early, considering like we've been in quarantine for months and I sit in the house. But like knowing that they're going to be able to see that there are thousands of people not spending money, you're going to be able to see it in the economy. So like things like that, where it's organized, like boycotting and, you know, taking some of our support out of systems that don't support us.
Good.
Who's going?
I was gonna go.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have a saying. I say eat the rich. And I think the one thing that really makes me upset is that billionaires exist. Like billionaires actually exist. And I think we should like boycott like every business that has a billionaire. Like for example, Amazon. I know how much everybody loves Amazon, but like Jeff Bezos, it's just not it for me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he should not be a billionaire. And who else? Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. As much as he's a philanthropist and everything, like I just can't rock with billionaires, you know, because they take away from communities and everything. So like I said, just eat the rich, you know, like just build down those. What about reparations? That's a good question, Deanna. I have no idea, honestly. That's a really good question. Does anyone have like anything to say about that? Because like I know a little bit about reparations, but like not enough that I'm knowledgeable. But like just eat the rich. That's all I gotta say.
Two things. So I didn't really want to comment about reparations right now, but I wanted to build on the solutions that Zaya mentioned. So I feel like so often our politicians don't look at short-term solutions per se, or like they always focus on, oh, we locked up so many criminals this recently. It's evident that our mayor and her, you know, things like that, they look at short-term solutions, but I really think some long-term solutions that would benefit everyone is investing in people's education. I feel like it will take more than a term of one person to be in there to actually see the results. But I think it's disgusting that so many children in my neighborhood don't have colored pencils. They have to learn in a certain way. Like, I don't know. That's just how I feel. I don't know about reparations though.
Okay, so in terms of solutions, I feel like back then, you know, in the civil rights movement, the racism was so blatant. Like, there's a way, like with the bus boycotting and all of that, there's a specific way you can solve that. But now it's like, it's deeply ingrained within many institutions, like with housing, employment, education. It's really hard to tackle and like identify directly like the cause of all this. I definitely agree with boycotting the businesses and like, you know, billionaires, like, you know, not being billionaires, but it's really hard to like identify physical evidence of all of this, you know, injustice. And really, I feel like it's educating white people. Well, we really know, they know, like the people in power, they know that there's racism going on, or like there's a way to know, but I feel like they should like practice consistently, like making sure that people of color, Black people, whoever, have equal opportunity to have higher positions, to have more access to education, to just not be discriminated against in like receiving housing loans and things like that. So, yeah.
You're so right. Deanna, can you kind of elaborate on reparations? Like, do you mean like the government giving us reparations?
Yeah, so, the thought behind reparations. So when the Holocaust happened, and they, fought for all of their, ancestors who were, part of that terrible genocide, they received reparations and so every Jewish person or descendant of a Jewish person received a check, period. So whether that means that every descendant of slave gets a voucher for education, similar to what, Jordan was saying, not just higher education, but, education throughout, or, I don't have the answers, whether that's a check or what have you, but at the end of the day, we've invested our lives and our ancestors and have invested their lives into building this. Like, these people are wealthy off the backs of the descendants of slaves, and so when do we get a fair payout? Also, reparations would be some sort of acknowledgement of this tremendous sin, right? So it's like this country has never really acknowledged the pain and how they became this world power because they had, 400 years of free labor. You know what I mean? So something has to be done to make that right. And again, I'm not an expert in this way, but I do believe that there needs to be some sort of payout to the descendants of slaves in this country. Slavery was not that long ago. Like, my grandparents' parents were slaves, right? And it's 2020, so that's not so far where you just can't. This is not before Christ. This is still in arm's reach and we're still being impacted. So I do think, I agree with everything else, but I do think that there needs to be some sort of transfer of wealth from whether it's through education, whether it's through entrepreneurship and seed funding, whatever it's through, whatever means, get the financial experts in the room to really break it down. But something has to be paid, And I don't know if anyone has ever studied the Holocaust and has anything to add, but, it wasn't so mind-blowing to give them checks, right? And their families checks. Why is it so mind-blowing to give Black people?
I want Corey to talk about reparations, and then I want Emma to relate it to the Holocaust.
So I was just going to say that based on like where America is right now, and obviously slavery wasn't that long ago, but so many people have it. It's like ingrained in our society that it was like way back. So I don't see a literal check coming to everyone's door, because just based off like the amount of also Black people who wouldn't want that or don't think Black people are even oppressed in this country. So not off of like what's the logic behind like giving checks, because they definitely can do that, but I don't see that happening. I think it should look more like investment in Black communities, and which like you can argue that like not everyone lives in a predominantly Black community, but I think the way that we've been set back is a lot of our people are in neighborhoods with no education, food deserts, gang activity, crime, and that's what's holding us back to this day. That's why people always bring up Black on Black crime. That's why like people aren't in positions of power, and that's how that we get them there with groceries, with a valid education, like this mess of getting out to go to a selective enrollment school doesn't make sense. We should all have good schools to go to in our own neighborhoods. But it's the fact that, like, if I went to my neighborhood high school, I wouldn't get nearly as good of an education, which is sad to say, because some people who live on the north side could go to their neighborhood school and get the same education that I get, that I had to test into to go to Whitney Young. So I think it's about investment in Black communities, Black businesses, and people who can really make a difference. It's about uplifting the community as a whole, less than like tangible, a couple thousand to everyone, because that's not going to do much for long term.
That's so true.
And just like relating it back to like what's going on in Germany, through like researching it, just like I can't remember who, but somebody said like they gave actual physical checks, and post like Hitler and post World War II, they had leaders in place that really recognized what was happening and like recognized that, you know, there needed to be a huge culture shift obviously after that. And not only did like the money really help like the Jewish community in Germany, but it also created a societal change, because when the rest of society sees the people in leadership, you know, giving like actual physical, tangible change, then they are more likely to recognize that like how necessary this is, and more likely to recognize like how, you know, important the just like being aware of what happened was. And I think that's like a big thing now, is people are, especially white people, unwilling to, you know, recognize that our ancestors were wrong, and like unwilling to recognize, you know, the role that white people played in creating all of this. And it is solely white people's fault that all of this happened. And so just accepting that blame is like, was the biggest societal shift like in Germany. And that's something that we don't have in America. So yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but just researching like actually what happened post-Holocaust and like how the whole leadership in Germany changed is really interesting, and like definitely could relate to today's society as well.
To add on to that, I completely agree. And in Germany, there are so many like different Holocaust monuments and like different things that are dedicated, and to show that like Germany is sorry for what they've done. And I feel like America's not even at that point where they would even give like a morsel of respect or like an apology to us. Like, they're not ready for that, and they aren't ready to accept the blame. And that's the biggest issue. That's why we haven't been able to move forward, because they're not ready to be held accountable.
I feel like that's ingrained in America too, though. Like, being held accountable is something that they shy away from, if that makes sense. Like, they feel that their superiority, like they feel that they are superior. And I feel like that's not true. Now I'm gonna mute myself.
Did anyone else have any last things they wanted to mention before we sort of wrap everything up?
To add on to Jordan's point, I think it's definitely something that's taught and that's ingrained in our society. But at this point, I feel like now in this day and age, we have the means to educate ourselves. And if your parents are teaching you one thing, there's so many resources to teach yourself and learn about the real issues. And I think a lot of people are hiding behind the fact that, oh, it's the way I was raised. Like, no, you have so many different ways to learn about the real issues, and the fact that you are to blame, that you can't even hide behind that anymore, and it's not a valid excuse.
That's why it's so heartbreaking to encounter people who use that excuse, because they know, like, they see it, like they see the videos, they see everything that's going on, they see what we see, and the fact that they can make excuses, any type of excuse to not educate themselves, it really says a lot about those people, and it makes it really hard to want to be around them. Corey, go ahead.
I also wanted to say that a lot of people like don't learn the full extent of African American history, obviously because of the way our education system is set up. And I didn't really learn much until I started doing the work myself, and had teachers that did that integrated Black American history. But I also did want to say, in case people didn't know, that there actually were reparations immediately after the Civil War, and that Black people were really like on the come up right in the end of the 1800s, the beginning of the 1900s. But around the 20s and 30s, it got shut down, and white people were rioting basically, and were like, this isn't
Wall Street.
Sense, yeah. So we were set back a century essentially when that happened, and so that's why, like, I guess reparations technically did happen, but because people are racist, it didn't really work out.
I'm really impressed with everything that everyone has said, and I'm really thankful for you guys for joining. I feel like this was a really productive talk, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So thank you guys for joining. We should talk about some things that we can do to take action. So Kyla, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah, so on the next slide, there's just some do's and don'ts of sort of like allyship that I put on here, but I'm gonna drop a bunch of links in the chat about, you know, certain websites that you should go to. So I actually have one that's on here, is the blog of Corey on here. Corey, we have her blog as one of the websites that you should go to. She wrote really great article and post about what you can do to help during these times, because I know a lot of people talk about that's something that they struggle with. I also am going to put up a couple resources to find Black businesses, like basically like Google, but for Black businesses, which was really cool. That was given to me by Deanna. And then we have the YouTube video that, I don't know if you guys know about this, to stream, you can donate it, and like the ads donate the money to, I don't know if it's the Mississippi Jail Fund or what is it, but the streaming donates money. And then there's a Google Doc that I use for petitions, call-ins that you could do, and just other resources that I'm also going to drop in the chat.